Hi, Vitalii, nice to meet you, and thank you for taking the time today. I guess you're a very busy person at the moment, but there are many things or many interesting aspects to talk about, I guess. Why don't you just start with telling us a little bit about yourself, like your person, just in a few sentences, the viewers know who you are.
My name is Vitalii. I'm Ukrainian. I'm 28 years old. I'm doing my PhD in my hometown, Chernivtsi, and now I'm here in my hometown. And also, I'm a head of the Secretariat of the political party European Solidarity in the Chernivtsi region. And since the full-scale invasion of Russia since 24th of February, all of our activities have switched to helping and assisting other people in hotspots and our soldiers on the front lines. So our activities have changed dramatically according to new challenges into the war, to aggression and other aspects.
Okay, so you mean the activities of your political party have changed?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and what are your official tasks as a politician during times like these?
Our secretariat is focused primarily on helping and assisting, before all, the people, like ordinary Ukrainians. And according to requests, we are collecting and sending parcels with humanitarian aid to different regions of Ukraine, especially in the east, in the north part of Ukraine. And another way of activities is about helping the soldiers on the front line and assisting with the appropriate equipment and other requests. So this is our main point, main focus right now. And all of our efforts are just put on this track because of the war and because of the needs. We get a lot of requests, a lot of letters and calls from our partners, also from for our other offices of European Solidarity in other parts of Ukraine. That is why we should help them, we should assist, and that's the main focus right now.
You said about also helping soldiers on the front line. How do items get there? Do you have drivers or how does it work?
It depends. In most cases, our activists, our deputies, our team have delivered on their own, usually by own cars or buses or renting cars. There are also amazing network of volunteers here in Ukraine that we're also using to deliver specific things to hotspots. That is why there are a lot of ways to deliver. The main thing is to get it to collect appropriate thing, and then it's easier to deliver than to get. I'm talking, of course, primarily about military equipment that is stored out of market here in Ukraine and also in neighboring countries as well. So it takes more time than we usually expect. So 2-3 weeks to get things, especially from United States, for example, or other countries.
You mentioned volunteers. How many people do you have volunteering approximately?
It depends on the task. For example, our office of our party has been re-equipped to humanitarian aid point, and volunteers can choose activities what he or she prefers. For example, you can net a mask, net for equipment, for tents, army, net, and another activity can be about sorting humanitarian things such as products or hygiene items or clothes. So it depends on task. And also have a chat, and we just share the task and how many people we need at some time and what kind of activity we're expecting from volunteers have to be done. And of course, it depends.
Okay, and just in general, is it getting harder to find volunteers now than it was maybe a few weeks ago? Do you notice a difference?
I see the difference because of the lot of reasons. Chernivtsi region is located close to Ukraine-Romania border, and thank God that one of the a few places that still are not bombed in Ukraine. And now when the territory, for example, of Kyiv and Chernihiv regions are occupied by Ukrainian soldiers, some people have returned to their home, and of course they have left our region. And the majority of volunteers, for example, in our office, were IDPs, internally displaced people. And of course, we see this trend when more and more people are coming back to, as we can say, of course, normal life. I mean, again, continuing working, getting salary, paying taxes, because during the wartime, it's crucial to support country, ongoing process and pushing the economy, working on our army and on our future perspectives as well. That is why I see this trend. but still there are a lot of volunteers that can help and ready to help in different cases.
Okay, so you don't really see a change in the motivation of people to help. That stays the same.
While we are talking about motivation, of course not, like 100 sport. And now Ukrainians don't need extra push, extra words of clarification, what is needed, why it's so crucial to help. So it's just without words. People understand we should do it because we should protect, we should resist, and we should win.
And would you say that Russians are trying to specifically kind of like, I don't know what word to use, but maybe eliminate those who volunteer or who do extra work to support the Ukrainian population?
I agree. Even more, I can add that they also have such list of activists, leaders, deputies, and there are some of our party as well that should be seized, arrested, or even killed when territory would be under occupation of Russians. And there are some cases, there are already some cases when deputies have been seized by Russian troops. So yeah, it's reality of what time it's so brutal approach of Russians, and we are not surprised at all about their steps, about their approaches of committing crimes, war crimes.
But you yourself, until now, you've never experienced anything like that you were in danger because you volunteered.
You mean if I'm afraid of being volunteer or doing such public activity or what?
Yes, that's what I'm like. You do public things, so does it scare you to do those things?
It is needed to mention that there are no 100% safety places here in Ukraine, even here. But still, it's kind of my contribution in this war, and I feel responsible for doing such activities, to giving interview to foreign media, to delivering a speech at different international institutions, because I should do it. I should do it as a citizen, as a person who born here, who raised here, and it's just about my country. That is why I'm not afraid. I'm in my hometown, in my country, and I should protect.
To kind of sum it up, you see it as your duty to help, of course. And you already mentioned that the Ukrainian population is very motivated to help and to volunteer. From what I see in the media in Austria and in the EU in general, is that they depict this image of the Ukrainians being very united. Is this image deceptive, or is this, from what you experienced, correct?
You mean united volunteers or united?
I mean, is there a consensus across party lines, or are there different opinions still?
Like almost 100% of Ukrainians understand who is the enemy and what we are fighting for. So the case, and what is crucial to audience that is watching us and will watch it as a recorded video, keep in mind that the war has not been started since 24th of February. It was started the full-scale war. But since 2014, Russia has annexed Crimea, our peninsula, and then started financing terroristic organization in the east of Ukraine, Donbass and Luhansk regions, and supporting them. And since that time, or even since our revolution of dignity, 2013, when Ukrainians came to the street to protest for European way of our country, European vector. And since then, or even since 2004 Orange Revolution that happened in Ukraine. So since that time, we're just ongoing process of improving us as a citizens, as really aware of the case, really high level of awareness and high level of political awareness. And we are used to take responsibility for our country. And since these revolutions, we've been developing as a social society. We can impress Europeans countries because probably not most of the population have been followed news from Ukraine before full-scale invasion. That is why it seems like something happened at the moment, but it doesn't. So it's an ongoing process for many years, and now it's just a top. Now we have amazing campaigns that have been launched by our authority. Be brave as Ukraine, as Ukrainian, because really in such case we are fighting with the biggest country in the world, and as they declare the second powerful army in the world, and you can compare the size of Russia and Ukraine, even if Ukraine is the biggest one in Europe concerning the territory, but still, and we resist. We also the occupied territory, and we are fighting. Of course, one of the reasons is support by EU, by United States, NATO allies and other countries. But on the other hand, it's about personal responsibility and personal spirit of being Ukrainian. Because even now, we can see, for example, a statement of Austrian Ministry of Foreign Affairs that recently said, and such statement consists of concerns about integration of Ukraine to the EU. So should we suggest something else? So it's already more than 60 days of full-scale invasion of Russian Federation. And we're really sorry to see that still a country that's so close to Ukraine, and also I'm talking about my region, Chernivtsi region, we were also under Austrian-Hungarian Empire, and there are a lot of joint history. And it's so sorry to see that so close country and so authority can show position, official position from such perspective. So what should be done more to see just one step? So we just seeking and asking for candidate status as a EU candidate status, not the full membership that should be done in a few months. We understand the reality, but we're asking for candidate status. And even such step shows in Austria that we love a lot such perception. I'm not sure that population shares such position, but official authority, especially from such country, really showing in not a positive way, let's say, here in Ukrainian society. Because dying and be raped babies, women's, I don't know, Russians targets can be maternity hospitals and other civilian infrastructure. At the beginning, they declared that the target will be only army infrastructure, military infrastructure, but they just don't care. They are bombing whatever they can achieve and what they can. That is why, to some point, it seems like we pay too high price our lives. I mean, it's like Ukrainian pays the highest price in the world. Lives, and we already chose our way, it's European way. And such statement during the full-scale war in the 21st century in the center of Europe, it seems so weird for us.
I definitely see where you're coming from, and you mentioned already that Ukrainian society has developed a civil society and has oriented itself towards the EU and the US. But do you see aspects of the legal system that need changing in the future in order to achieve candidate status or in order to, become a full member of the EU?
We already signed association agreement with the EU, and following that requirements and that duties that have been taken by Ukrainian authority, of course, we're following that. And today I checked recent data, of course, before the full-scale war, and according to the data, the progress implementing of the association agreement has been increased and up to 63%. And the biggest level of already implemented points of duties are about justice, human rights, national security, political dialogue, so humanitarian policy, so such very fundamental branches, let's say. But as far as we understand that 37% is still in the progress of implementing the EU association agreement. That is why we are on our track. And of course, there are a lot of being improved. But in such case of unprovoked emergence, when we are fighting, and candidate status would be a historic token of support for Ukraine. Ukrainians. We consider this step at this moment as a sign, a real step towards our mission via the EU member state. And, it's so crucial that now we are fighting for surviving, to survive after this war and not be annexed by Russian and relaunch USSR in the former territory. So we see for such perspective.
And how do you assess the chances and especially the speed? In what time frame do you think Ukraine can become a full member of the EU?
I'm absolutely sure that we'll be a full member EU. And we see from the realistic position that it can be happened in a few months. But we should follow steps, requirements by the EU proceeding and Treaty on European Union. And we already shared and supported almost all values, for example, that provided by the Article 2 of the Treaty on European Union. And we have supported it during the Revolution of Dignity as well, during this war. So we are a European country with European values, and we are fighting for that values. And unfortunately, some of the leaders leaders in the EU don't understand that, or probably for better understanding the situation, it would be the great idea to visit Bucha city, and probably you know the Bucha massacre and other cities in the Kiev region that have been occupied by Ukrainian army. So to see the reality, the real picture, not recorded video. Probably in this case, to some extent, it can help for better perception. But about the pace and the pace about full membership, I don't think that it's a top question on the agenda. So right now we just applied and already applied the first part of applications as a EU candidate state. And what we are calling and asking and requesting for our partners in the EU, not focusing on just bureaucracy thing, not to waste time for things that can be done faster. That's what we're asking for.
Okay, you mentioned EU politicians and maybe EU politicians not understanding Ukraine. And I've read this interview with Vitalii Yaremchuk, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he is supposed to be a presidential advisor of Volodymyr Zelensky. And it was an interview in an Austrian newspaper this week. And he talked about politicians traveling to Ukraine and seeing those places you just mentioned. And he kind of worded it that it became a trend, maybe, and that it became popular by politicians to travel to Ukraine. And he worded it taking a selfie there. What do you think about this? Do you think this is just for the media, or does it help on some other level that politicians travel to Ukraine to see those places?
All politicians are still human, and it's all about human perception and seeing such horrified picture in real life, not a picture one, and feeling that spirit and feeling that strategy and other things related to visiting such places. It also can affect for better perception without any doubts. That is why I think that if every top politician from the EU countries or other countries visit such places, it would be a great experience for them to see what Russia is about. It's not about declared very rich country with rich culture, because it's so topical question about culture as well, but it can be in other interview, but also with the expert in this sphere. But from my perspective, Russians are still on their track to steal a lot of historical history from Ukraine and grab it to Russia. And one of the examples is about Mariupol. They have occupied, and there are still Azov that still fighting over there, even just cut off any supply, any water and other things. It's the biggest strategy probably now. And they have stole all of the things from museums of Mariupol and brought it to Russia. It's one of the recent examples. That is why a lot of myth, a lot of narrative have been cultivated and spreading around the world. And just now it's time to stop it and to see that it's like a terroristic organization which still have influence because of the gas, because of the oil and other natural sources, no more. That is why it's crucial. And of course, media is also important. I understand to some extent the media coverage of their activity in Ukraine, and mainly it's for local citizens to show solidarity. But still, there are a lot of politicians, top politicians, presidents that haven't visited Ukraine. I mean, this place. So they're pretty welcome to Ukraine.
That was probably a good ending to welcome politicians to Ukraine. I don't know if there are some other questions of the people joining us on Zoom.
Hello, Lisa. Yes, I have a question for Vitalii, if the time is fine for questioning.
Yeah, we have time for a few short questions.
Okay, thank you, Vitalii, for your personal insights. I have a question regarding really good positive forecasting. Just imagine if we are really winner of this war. What are you kind of the present volunteer going to do in the future? What the young politicians going to engage in the future in next steps to rebuild Ukraine or other actions? What is your predictions for the future volunteers after winning the war? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Yes, to some extent we should consider working even right now on rebuilding and recovery Ukraine. Yeah, because even right now such cities in Kiev, Chernivtsi regions that have been occupied, a lot of volunteers are working over over there to, for example, cleaning the street or other activities, bringing water, bringing the basic thing. And about young politicians, but also politicians in general, definitely we will need support of our partners, especially the EU, United States, Canada, and other countries, because we cannot manage recovery, of such big territory. So again, Ukraine is a big one, and a lot of people have lost their homes and places, and we have lost tons of infrastructure. And Ukraine on its own cannot afford and can't even operate of such sum of money to recovery. And one of the goal for me personally would be engaging foreign partners, engaging foreign funds to invest into recovery of the Ukraine. And our team considering ways how it can be done, and probably soon we will working on more actively on this way, because we really need, besides activities here, besides ongoing reforms and changing some branches of our systems, we also need investments, a lot of investments and supports, of course.
We might have time for another question if there is one.
Yes, hello, I have a question. First of all, I would like to say thank you for your speech and for letting us know what you do as a deputy. And so here is my question. Do you have an intent to cooperate with Fund Europe Ukraine and Fund Europe Kyiv? Or maybe you already cooperate with us?
Before we already cooperated, I mean, even for sharing and building such bridges between young people here and young people from the EU countries, and here with Lisa, and the previous one was with Tobias, if I'm not mistaken, the name of the colleague from Germany. So it's a brilliant experience. I mean, even such public interview that anyone can easily join, ask questions, suggest something. So it's crucial for future steps, for future cooperation, and signing agreement, joining projects. So it can be plenty of ways that can be done. And of course, on Europe, in Ukraine, it's one of the ways to achieve foreign partners, to use all networks, all connections that are already established by your organization and your community society. So it's one of the ways, again, to find this contact, to find these partners for investing into Ukraine, for supporting Ukraine, for sharing experience in recovery after war, after such destroying of civil infrastructure as well.
Thank you for your answer.
Thank you. I think we maybe end the interview here. Thank you for your last sentences also about, sharing experiences, because I feel like if people actually hear personal experiences from people in Ukraine, they feel more connected and maybe, understand your position a little bit better. So I think that was a nice last thought you shared here. Thank you for taking the time, and all the best, I guess.
Yeah, vielen Dank.
Do you have like a last sentence or last thoughts you want to share, or things that have not been mentioned?
Stand with Ukraine, and please make sure that you do your best. Help us to assist, even if you can donate directly to armed forces of Ukraine or to NGOs here in Ukraine. Please be sure that our strategy is still in conversation. I mean, it's like still on media coverage, because the worst case is just to forget about or get used to war, ongoing war in Europe. So it's the worst case. Please don't do that. Help us, share on your social media pages, share our official sources, and also check it twice, because media literacy is so crucial right now when a lot of fakes are spreading in media concerning the war too. So it's so needed and so helpful. And thank you for your support, for your praise. And again, please make sure that you do your best. Help us.
Well, thank you. And we're going to end the interview here. Thank you for taking the time, and thank you for sharing your thoughts and your words and, your day-to-day experience, I guess. And thank you for our listeners to join us on Zoom and on the Panorama page. Bye, and maybe see you again. Thank you.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.